how to make the petal in the flower show blanket. For this I'm using some straight needles and some light colored yarn. In this blanket we're using all knit cast-ons. So start with the loop. Now when I'm using markers for different purposes, I like to use two different types of markers. So after I cast on the first 8 stitches, I'm going to put a little plastic marker on here. Find a marker. Okay, so this orange one will show up nice. Place the marker, and then we're going to continue casting on 6 more stitches. Okay, so now using a different kind of marker, I will be placing a marker around this 6th stitch that I cast on. So I'm not putting that on the needle, I'm putting that through these stitches, through the legs of the stitches. Okay. And then I'm going to continue casting on 18 more stitches. Okay, so that should be 18 stitches there. Now we're going to work the petal. So the first row and all the wrong side rows through number 5 are going to be plain knits. Okay, so this is a plain knit row. Okay, so now we're going to do row 2, which is a right side row. The directions say to knit to the marker, which I've already done here, and then we're going to knit 2 together, knit 2 plain, knit 2 together, and then knit 4 plain. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to repeat the knit 2 together, knit 2 together. So knit 2 together, knit 2 plain, knit 2 together. Then we should have 8 stitches left on the needle. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's right. Now you could put another removable marker here just to mark out where those last 8 stitches are, because those are going to remain constant throughout this pattern stitch. It's kind of a way of double checking. I'm not going to do that, and the pattern doesn't reference that marker, so it's not mentioned in the pattern, but you could do that if you want. The directions for row 2 are just to knit to the end after you've finished those decreases. And then row 3, which is the last row that we're going to knit in color 1 or 2, depending on which numbered petal you're doing. This is a plain knit row, so row 3 is just plain knitting. So here we go. We're at the end of row 3, we're ready to start row 4, and that's where we introduce color C3, which is for the inner parts of the petals. And I'm using all light colors here just so you can see it. Now, one of the important things, and it's also included in the notes, is not to cut the first color. So we're just going to add this color, and row 4 and 5 are plain knit rows. So nothing too interesting here, but so we're just going to knit both of these. Okay, so here we are ready to start the right side row number 6, and the directions are to knit to the marker, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 2, and then repeat the knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together. And then at the end of this row, we're going to be doing a wrap and turn. Okay, here we go. knit to the marker. Slip. Then knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together. And then knit 2. And then repeat the knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2. A check is that we should always have 8 stitches left at the end of the row after completing those decreases. So we do, we have 8 stitches. So we'll knit those, knit to the last 3 stitches as the directions say for row 6. Knit to 3 stitches before end. So that's 3 stitches before end, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm gonna wrap. And I like to knit backwards when I'm doing wrap and turn, but that's just me. So I get confused when I have to turn the needles around. So I have a video on knitting backwards like this. It's actually probably purling backwards technically, since this results in something that looks like a purl stitch. And I think doing this probably shows you a little more clearly what I'm doing because you're always looking at the right side. So this is row 7 that we're working. So we're knitting, directions say to knit to 3 stitches from the end. Slip marker whenever encountered. Okay, so now we're at 3 stitches from the end, so we're going to wrap the 3rd stitch from the end. And since I never did turn the needles, I don't need to actually turn. But so now I'm going to knit to the marker, and then I'm on row 8 now. I'm going to knit together 4 times, as it says on row 8. So slip the marker and then knit 2 together 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it says knit to 6 stitches from the end. So still have 8 at the end there. So 1, 2, and then I'm at 6 stitches from the end, and then I'm gonna wrap and turn, except for I'm not turning. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the next row, knit to 6 stitches from the end. So, and I'm purling backwards so you can see what's happening here. So we're looking at the right side again. This purling backwards takes some practice. I use it in, whoops, I lost my marker. I use it in short rows, and I use it when I have small numbers of stitches on my needles. It's very handy for both of those. Okay, so now I've got 6 stitches left on this side. So I'm going to wrap and turn. And again, this has been row 9, where it says knit to 6 stitches from the end, wrap and turn. And then now it says remove marker. Okay, so let's remove the marker. And that means the regular slipped marker, not the one on the edge. So remove marker, knit 1, CDD twice. So CDD is where you slip 2 stitches knitwise to the right needle, knit the next stitch, and then you pass those 2 slip stitches over, and that decreases 2 stitches. So we'll do that twice. So slip, knit 1, knit 2 together. And then it says knit to the end. So we're on row 10. Now, note that this is a wrap stitch here and garter stitch. I do not bother lifting. Normally you're instructed on stockinette to lift it up and knit it together, but it doesn't matter on garter. It actually looks better if you don't do that. So just knit right past it. Okay. So now on the next row, we're going to knit 8. So this is row 11. And so this actually gets us only halfway through the row, just to the middle of the row. Okay, there I am, knitting 8. And so you notice that I'm right between those 2 CDDs that I did last time. And so then we're going to rotate the needles so the tips are together and the needles are parallel and the right sides of the work are together. And we can see that this is the wrong side because it has that sort of dotted line, unsmooth or ununiform transition of the colors there. And if I open up the middle, you can see that's got that nice smooth transition or clean transition. So we've got the right sides together. So we're going to slide the stitches down to the ends of the needles, and using the C3 color, we insert the large needle. So I have to mention this, that we have this larger 3rd needle that we're using for this purpose. And here I've got a size 10.5. You can use whatever size works for you. And so first you insert the needle knitwise into the front stitch of the front needle, first stitch of the front needle, and then the first stitch of the back needle. So, and then yarn around and then pull a loop through just like normal and slide it off as if you were knitting. Next stitch, first stitch on the front needle, first stitch on the back needle, yarn around, pull through a loop. That's the trickiest part, is the pulling through the loop. And then pick up the first stitch as if you're doing a regular bind off and pull it over the second stitch. So that's just like a bind off. Keep it nice and loose. Same thing with the next stitch. So you're just continue doing this with the pairs of stitches. There's an even number or the same number of stitches on the front and the back needle. So we're just going to continue binding off in this manner by inserting through the front and the back stitch, yarn around, pull through, keeping it loose. So there we go, yarn around. Oops, gonna lose that one. Okay, we're down to the last 2 pairs. And there's the last pair. And pull the stitch over, tighten it a little bit. So then I'm going to pull out this loop here, and I'm going to insert the ball of yarn through the loop and pull to tighten, like so. Now you can see if I open it up that we have a nice petal. Again, this is where we had our movable marker. This is where we have our stationary marker here that we're going to leave because we need to use that later for the background. You can see this is the area here where we did the decreases. This area here towards what was the ends of the rows, we did wrap and turn so that the part of the petal here would be narrower than this part up here. And if you turn it over, you can see the 3 needle bind off, which looks kind of like a little chain right there. To start the next petal, say that this was petal 1 or petal 2, you attach the next yarn right at this corner. You pick up 8 stitches, 1 stitch per cast on stitch. So there's the cast on stitches along here. So you're just going to be building onto the previous petal that you completed. Okay, so I hope this is helpful and gets you going, that you enjoy making this blanket. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.